Hi, this is Rabbi Jeremy Lawrence from the Great Synagogue in Sydney. This Sunday is Fast of Tevet, the Fast of the 10th of Tevet. The fast commemorates the beginning of 2 years of terrible siege of Jerusalem under the Babylonian ruler Nebuchadnezzar in the year 588 BCE. It culminated in the city of Jerusalem falling on the 17th of Tammuz and the destruction of King Solomon's temple on the 9th of Av a couple of years later. It's clear that we should commemorate the destruction of the temple, but why mark the beginning of the siege? The rabbis say that this forces us to look back at the roots of destruction. The prophets of the era had scolded the people for imagining that calamity would not befall them. They were oblivious to reality. It's not enough to pray for salvation. We must engage in introspection, act with contrition, not just say godly things, but live godly lives. The prophet Jeremiah had warned, don't put your trust in illusions and say, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord is this building, imagining what harm could befall. Will you steal, he asked, and murder and commit adultery, and swear falsely and sacrifice to other gods, and then come and stand before me in this house of God and pretend we're safe? Safe to do all these abhorrent things? Should the house of God be a den of thieves? Jeremiah is clear. It's what's within us that counts. The Talmud references tragedies on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of Tevet. The 8th of Tevet was the day that King Ptolemy of Egypt commanded the writing of the Targum Shivim, or the Septuagint. According to several records, he placed 72 sages in 72 rooms and commanded each to make an independent translation of the Bible into Greek. The sages were confronted with a number of problematic verses, according to linguistic and cultural sensitivities. Verses which might hint at more than one God, or that a man and a woman were created together, or that God did do work on the seventh day. Miraculously, each sage gave a more acceptable gloss, each sage independently identifying the same problem and an identical solution. The writing of the Septuagint is celebrated as a miracle, but also a calamity. Later rabbis describe it as a day as black as the day on which the Israelites made the golden calf. A day of tragedy? What's so wrong with translation? Is it just that translation is an interpretation? We know that our texts and laws were supposed to be translated and shared the Tev, written with crystal clarity, so that all peoples could understand them. So where's the calamity of the Septuagint? One approach is that when we read a translation which has been adapted to circumstance by someone else, we're handing it over to that someone else to do the work and forge the image. It is true that we all need teachers to guide us, but ultimately each one of us should be trying to draw close to the source ourselves and placing that source, not someone else's image, in our hearts. The Torah is God's gift to each of us. The risk is that when we approach it in translation, we might treat it as just another book. The Israelites in the time of Jeremiah trusted in the building. They were so sure of the temple of the Lord that they didn't have the authentic Torah in their hearts. Torah is about the values within. The 10th of Tevet reminds us when we let the edges of our Jewish citadel become compromised, it's only a matter of time till the edifice itself is destroyed. May we internalize the good and merit the day that all our fasts are turned to feasts. This is Rabbi Jeremy Lawrence from the Great Synagogue in Sydney.